It's a busy time for bookmaker William Hill as it tries to get punters to bet on the World Cup. Gareth Davis is chairman of William Hill, but he's also chairman of Wolseley, the building materials company, and DS Smith, the packaging firm, so he's well placed to judge the state of the British economy. Gareth, there are very strong economic indicators, are there? Is that what it feels like on the ground?
Yes, I think it's definitely starting to feel like that. I mean, if we see all the numbers of GDP growth, inflation, etc., and things seem to be going the UK's way very strongly at the moment. And it does seem to be occurred in most regions now, obviously much more so in London and the southeast, but most of the regions now starting to benefit from an enhanced level of economic activity.
Is this sustainable?
Well, I hope so. The signs are looking very good. I think there's always a time lag between the consumer feel-good factor, and growth in GDP. But I think we're starting to see that lag come to an end, and I think there is an emerging feel-good factor. And if you just look out of this window at the number of cranes in this city at the moment building, it's a fantastic sight to see.
Government red tape. Is government allowing business to grow, to be the engine of all this economic growth?
Yeah, I think there are two sides to the story. I mean, you'll very often hear politicians say, one of our desires over the next year in Parliament is to cut the amount of red tape on business, etc. But then you will find a more macro type of trend of greater intervention, like we've seen post the 2008 crisis. The fallout from from that was a lot more intervention in many more areas of business than we were ever used to in the last few years.
Is it the worst you can recall? Is the most intense?
I think it probably is, if you look at the spread of industries that have been talked about, and of course the focus on governance issues, particularly the remuneration issue, which the BIS got very much involved in. So yes, I'd have to conclude in my 40 years working life, it's the most intervention I've seen.
So actually this economic growth could be much greater, could be much deeper.
Paradoxically, the stronger our economy gets, we're still sitting here with a very uncertain outcome of the next election, which most, I think, foreign observers would find absolutely staggering that is happening. But we are where we are.
And the gambling industry is particularly complaining about intervention. But on the other hand, there is many observers who believe the gambling industry has got the lobbying argument completely wrong, that they didn't see the regulatory issue coming, and that actually they played a very bad hand in fending this off with government.
I think all industries have to accept at the end of the day, obviously particularly sensitive industries, have to accept a level of regulation. I think all that you could hope for is that regulation is evidence-based, is proportional, is well thought out, and it doesn't kill an industry. It doesn't over-regulate in that sense. That's what you hope for. But I think in gambling situation, I think you have to look at the structure of the industry. Because of the growth in online and mobile gambling, the barriers to entry have been quite low, so a lot of new entrants into the space, ergo it's a very fragmented industry.
Does William Hill think that it could never win that lobbying argument?
I think the mistake is to look at lobbying in a win-lose type scenario. I don't think it's that binary. And the problem is people start lobbying once an initiative has been launched. And the time to really be lobbying is well before any initiative. So I see the major role of lobbying is to keep government and public bodies aware of the trends in your industry, aware of the trends in your company, how many people you're employing, what portion of GDP are you generating for the country. These sort of issues, these need to be constantly fed. And that helps also to build relationships with the governments of the day or local authorities, and hopefully you can come to a much more constructive solution and meet everyone's wishes to some degree.
Gareth Davis, thank you very much.
Thank you.